The spaceship glided silently through the endless stars, its engines humming softly. Commander Yarrick leaned back in his seat and looked at the holographic map. A strange signal had reached Earth a week ago. It was weak but urgent. The message spoke of danger and a lost princess on a distant planet. Yarrick was known for his bravery and skill, and he was chosen for this mission. As the ship approached the planet, Yarrick felt a strange excitement mixed with fear. He had never been to this system before. The planet was called Xeria. Its surface glowed with green and blue lights. Clouds of sparkling gas swirled around mountains taller than any on Earth. It looked beautiful but dangerous. His mission was clear: find the alien princess and bring her safely back. Yarrick studied the reports about Xeria. The planet was home to a royal family. The princess was young but wise. Her mother ruled with intelligence and power, but rumors said she only allowed the bravest warrior to marry her daughter. Many had tried and failed, facing deadly creatures and traps. The humans had never been to this planet before, and this mission was risky. Suddenly, the ship shook violently. A warning alarm rang. A swarm of unknown ships appeared from the glowing clouds. Their shapes were sharp and alien. Jarrek's hands moved fast, activating the shields. The alien ships fired beams of blue light. The hull shivered with every hit. Yarrick felt his heart race. He had trained for battles, but this was different. These creatures knew the planet. They were defending it. Yarrick maneuvered the ship skillfully, weaving through clouds and energy beams. He could see the planet's surface coming closer. Forests of glowing trees and rivers of silver liquid spread below. He needed to land safely and quickly. Suddenly, one of the alien ships hit the ship's engine. Sparks flew, and the ship lost some control. Yarrick gritted his teeth and pushed the engine to its limit. With a loud roar, the ship finally landed in a clearing surrounded by tall, glowing trees. The engines cooled, and the alarm stopped. Yarrick stepped out, feeling the soft vibration of the alien ground under his boots. The air smelled strange but fresh, and tiny lights floated like fireflies. He looked around, careful, knowing that danger could come from anywhere. The princess was somewhere nearby, and time was short. As Yarrick walked toward the forest, he heard a faint cry. His heart jumped. It was the princess. He ran in the direction of the sound. Ducking under glowing branches, he saw a creature, tall and dark with sharp claws. Holding someone in its grasp, the princess's golden hair shone in the alien light. She looked terrified. Yarrick knew he had to act. He drew his plasma blaster, aiming carefully. "Let her go," Yarrick shouted, his voice steady but loud. The creature hissed and turned. Its eyes glowed red. It charged at him. Yarrick dodged quickly, firing his weapon. The beam struck the creature, but it didn't fall. It roared, louder than any sound Yarrick had heard. He rolled behind a tree and fired again. Each shot lit up the forest. The princess watched him, hope shining in her eyes. Yarrick ran toward the creature. Using a mix of courage and skill, he grabbed a heavy branch and swung at the creature. It hissed and released the princess. She fell to the ground, gasping. Yarrick pulled her behind him as the creature lunged again. He fired, and finally, it retreated into the shadows, disappearing among the glowing trees. The princess looked at Yarrick, her eyes wide. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice soft but strong. Yarrick nodded, still on guard. He knew this was only the beginning. More dangers awaited, and the journey to take her home would be long and difficult. But he felt a strange bond with her already, a promise of trust and courage. Together, they started moving toward the heart of the forest, where unknown perils and mysteries waited. High above, the sky glowed with alien light, and in the distance, shadows of larger creatures moved silently. Yarrick knew he had to protect the princess at all costs. The mission was just beginning, and the story of bravery and adventure was about to unfold. The forest was alive with strange sounds. Glowing plants swayed as if watching them. Yarrick held the princess's hand, guiding her carefully over twisted roots and glowing streams. Every step felt dangerous. The air vibrated with a strange energy. It was beautiful, but full of hidden threats. The princess, whose name was Liara, whispered softly, "They will not let me leave easily." Yarrick nodded, scanning the trees and skies. He could feel eyes on them, creatures hiding, waiting for a single mistake. He had faced many enemies before, but nothing like this. The forest seemed alive, almost intelligent, as if it knew their every move. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from above. Yarrick ducked, pulling Liara behind a glowing bush from the treetops. Strange creatures leaped down, their skin shimmered in colors that changed with every movement. They had sharp claws, long tails, and glowing eyes that pierced the darkness. Yarrick fired his blaster, beams lighting the forest, but there were too many. Liara clutched his arm, fear mixed with determination in her eyes. "We must reach the Crystal Valley," she said, her voice trembling. "It is the only safe path to the palace." Yarrick nodded, understanding that the journey would not just be about running, but about fighting, thinking, and surviving. Every second counted. He grabbed Liara and sprinted through a narrow path, the creatures chasing them, their claws scratching the glowing ground. Yarrick fired behind him, taking down one. Then another, but more appeared, emerging from the shadows like living nightmares. He knew he could not stop. He had to protect Liara, or all would be lost. The forest grew darker, the glow of the plants dimming. A strange fog began to rise, thick and shimmering. Hiding the path ahead, Jarrick's heart pounded. He could barely see. He held Liara close, whispering, "Stay close to me." They moved slowly, carefully, every step measured. The fog was alive, twisting around their legs, pulling at them, almost trying to stop them. Suddenly, a voice echoed, soft but commanding. "Turn back, intruders." Yarrick froze, looking around, but no one appeared. The voice seemed to come from everywhere. Liara shivered. "It is the Forest Guardian," she said. "It protects my world and tests anyone who dares approach." Jarrick's mind raced. He had heard of guardians and legends, but never seen one. He knew he must face it or never reach the palace. The fog thickened, and a massive figure emerged, taller than the trees, its body covered in glowing armor-like skin. Its eyes shone like twin suns. It moved with grace and power. The ground shook with each step. Yarrick stepped forward, placing himself in front of Liara, raising his blaster. "Who are you, and why do you enter this forest?" The Guardian's voice boomed, deep and echoing. Yarrick swallowed hard, his mind racing for words. "I am Yarrick from Earth," he said firmly. "I've come to rescue Princess Liara and bring her safely home. I mean no harm to your world." The Guardian's glowing eyes studied him, scanning his courage, his strength, and his determination. Time seemed to slow, the forest silent except for the faint hum of glowing plants. Liara held her breath. Jarrick's heart pounded. The Guardian raised a massive arm, pointing toward a narrow, glowing path. "Your bravery will be tested. Follow it, or fail," it said. The figure then vanished into the mist, leaving silence behind. Yarrick exhaled, feeling the weight of the test ahead. He looked at Liara, who nodded. The Crystal Valley is not far, but danger waits at every turn. They moved forward, the path twisting through glowing cliffs and silver rivers. Shadows moved in the fog, creatures lurking, traps hidden under shimmering leaves. Yarrick kept firing and defending, his body and mind pushed to the limits. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time was strange in this forest. Finally, they saw a valley glowing with crystal towers and shining streams. The beauty was breathtaking. But Yarrick knew it was only temporary safety. The palace and Liara's mother were still ahead, and enemies would not give up. He held his blaster tightly, prepared for whatever came next, ready to face the unknown. High above, the sky glimmered with alien stars. The shadows of unseen watchers followed them silently. And in the distance, the faint sound of drums echoed, as if announcing their arrival. Jarrick's jaw tightened. He whispered to Liara, "Stay close. We are not safe yet." Together, they stepped into the glowing valley, unaware of the dangers that waited, ready to test their courage and their bond. Yarrick and Liara stepped cautiously into the glowing Crystal Valley. The towers of shining crystal stretched high into the sky, reflecting the pale light of Ziria's 2 moons. The air felt charged, like electricity hummed around them. Every sound echoed strangely, and shadows danced on the crystal walls. "Be careful," Liara whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "The valley is beautiful, but it hides danger." Yerrick nodded, scanning the area, his senses alert. He had faced many enemies before, but the creatures of Ziria were different, smart, cunning, and relentless. As they moved deeper into the valley, a sudden rumble shook the ground, small crystals cracking beneath their feet. Liara gasped. "The guardians of the valley," she said. "They are testing us." Before Yerrick could respond, dozens of shadowy creatures emerged from the crystal towers, their bodies shimmering like broken glass, moving faster than the eye could follow. Yerrick pulled out his blaster, firing quickly, beams of blue energy striking creatures as they lunged. But for every one he hit, two more appeared. Liara stumbled, trying to dodge the attacks. Yerrick grabbed her arm, pulling her behind a giant crystal formation. Sparks flew from the shattered ground as creatures clawed and jumped at them. The valley seemed alive, the crystals vibrating with each strike. And then a strange sound filled the air, like 1,000 voices whispering at once. Liara's eyes widened. "It's the valley itself," she said. "It chooses who is worthy and who fails." Yerrick clenched his jaw, knowing they had to fight not just the creatures but the environment itself. Suddenly, one massive creature, larger than all the others, emerged from the tallest crystal tower. Its body twisted and glowing, claws as long as swords, eyes burning with pure red light. It roared, and the sound shattered nearby crystals, sending sharp shards flying like daggers. Yerrick dove to the ground, pulling Liara with him, shards cutting through the air. He fired at the giant creature, his blaster beams striking its glowing chest, but it barely flinched. It was faster and stronger than anything he had faced. Yerrick realized brute force alone would not work. He needed strategy. He looked around the valley, noticing smaller crystals reflecting light. An idea formed in his mind. "Liara, I need you to help me," Yerrick shouted. "Use the crystals, aim at its eyes." She nodded, and together they moved, dodging creatures and flying shards. Liara aimed carefully, reflecting beams of light from the crystals onto the giant creature. Its eyes glowed brighter, then blinked in pain. Yerrick fired his blaster at the perfect moment, striking the creature's core. The giant let out a deafening roar. Stumbling back, smaller creatures scattered and retreated into the shadows. The valley fell silent. Only the faint hum of the crystals remained. Liara looked at Yerrick, on gratitude in her eyes. "You saved us," she whispered. "You are truly brave." Yerrick nodded, exhausted but focused. He knew this was only the first test. As they moved through the valley, a shadow passed above them. Faster than a blink, Jarek's instincts kicked in, and he grabbed Liara. Rolling behind a large crystal, a massive flying creature circled overhead, its wings creating gusts that shook the valley. "We are being hunted," Yerrick said, his voice tense. "They are not done with us yet." Liara's hand tightened on his arm. "What now?" she asked, her voice a mix of fear and determination. Yerrick scanned the valley, noticing a narrow passage between two giant crystal towers. "We run through there," he said. "It may be our only chance." Together they sprinted, dodging falling crystal shards and shadowy creatures, the giant flying predator close behind. They reached the passage, and Yerrick spotted a weak point in the crystal wall. He fired, creating a small opening. They slipped through just as the flying creature slammed into the wall, shattering part of it. Sparks and crystals rained around them, but they emerged safely on the other side, their breaths heavy, hearts pounding. High above, the stars of Ziria shimmered, and somewhere in the distance, the faint echo of the Valley Guardian's roar reminded them that tests were far from over. Yerrick looked at Liara, determination in his eyes. "We survived this test," he said, "but more dangers are coming, and we must be ready." Together, they disappeared into the shadows of the next valley, unaware of the trials that waited ahead. Yerrick and Liara moved carefully through the narrow valley, the shattered crystals from the battle still glowing faintly under Ziria's twin moons. The air smelled strange, metallic yet sweet, as if the planet itself was breathing. Jarek's senses were alert. Every sound and shadow made him tense. Liara's eyes darted to the shadows. "There is more here than creatures," she whispered, her voice low. "This valley holds secrets, things my mother never told me." Yerrick looked at her, curiosity mixed with concern. "What kind of secrets?" he asked, but Liara only shook her head. "You will see soon enough." As they moved deeper, the path narrowed, crystal walls rising on both sides, reflecting their shadows in 1,000 directions. Yerrick felt like they were being watched. The silence was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of the crystals vibrating under their feet. Suddenly, a faint light flickered ahead, like a torch in the distance. They approached slowly, and Yerrick noticed a series of markings on the crystal walls, strange symbols glowing faintly. Liara stepped closer, tracing them with her fingers. "These are messages from the ancient guardians," she said. "They warn travelers of danger and show the path forward. But only those brave enough can understand." Yerrick studied them, feeling a strange energy in the air. Before they could proceed, the ground shook violently, cracks forming in the crystal floor. A deep rumble echoed through the valley, and a massive creature emerged from below, covered in jagged crystals, its mouth open, revealing rows of sharp, glowing teeth. It lunged at them. Yerrick grabbed Liara, diving behind a crystal pillar, beams of his blaster lighting the valley. The creature moved faster than he expected, smashing crystal walls with its claws, shards flying like missiles. Yerrick fired again, hitting its legs, slowing it momentarily. Liara gasped. "We must use the reflections," she shouted, pointing at the walls. Yerrick understood instantly. He aimed his blaster at a small crystal shard, bouncing the beam into the creature's glowing eyes. The creature roared in pain, stumbling back, but it was far from defeated. It lunged again, stronger and faster. Yerrick grabbed a large shard of crystal and threw it with all his strength, striking the creature's chest, and finally, it let out a deafening roar before retreating into the shadows, leaving cracks and shattered crystal behind. Liara leaned against Yerrick, breathing heavily. "This valley tests more than courage," she said. "It tests wisdom, strategy, and heart." Yerrick nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had fought many battles, but this felt different, as if Ziria itself was alive, watching, judging, and shaping their journey. As they moved forward, a strange mist began to rise, glowing faintly, swirling around their legs and arms. Yerrick reached for his blaster, but Liara stopped him. "This is not danger," she whispered. "This mist shows visions, truths that must be faced." Suddenly, images formed in the mist, showing her mother, powerful and stern, testing young warriors in the past, some succeeding, some failing. Yerrick saw himself in the visions too, fighting not just creatures, but fears, doubts, and choices that could end their mission. Liara's voice was quiet but steady. "We must reach the palace soon. My mother's test will be even harder. She will judge not only my safety, but yours too." Jarrick's jaw tightened. He understood the stakes. It was no longer just about rescue. It was about proving worthiness, courage, and heart. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the mist, faster than a blink. Yerrick spun, aiming his blaster. But there was nothing, only a faint whisper in the air. "Only the brave can proceed." The words sent chills down his spine. Liara nodded. "It is the Guardian's voice reminding us of the final trial in this valley." Yerrick gritted his teeth, knowing the next steps would test everything he had. They continued, the valley opening into a hidden chamber, crystals taller than trees, glowing brighter than ever. And in the center, a pool of liquid silver shimmered, reflecting their faces. The energy was overwhelming, almost blinding. Yerrick could feel power radiating from it, and a sense that every decision from now on would decide their fate. Liara stepped closer to the pool, touching its surface, and images of past heroes shimmered within. Yerrick realized that their journey was not only physical, but spiritual. The valley had chosen to reveal its deepest secrets, preparing them for the ultimate confrontation ahead. He placed a hand on her shoulder, whispering, "We face it together, whatever comes." Liara nodded, determination lighting her eyes. Above them, the twin moons glimmered. Shadows shifted in the crystal towers, and the faint echo of a guardian's roar reminded them that tests were far from over. Yarrick knew that the next challenge would demand all of his courage, skill, and heart, and together they stepped forward. Challenge would demand all of his courage, skill, and heart, and together they stepped forward, ready to face the unknown. Yarrick and Liara emerged from the glowing crystal valley, the path ahead twisting into jagged cliffs and shadowed canyons. The twin moons cast long, eerie reflections across the ground. Jarrick's muscles ached, but his mind was alert. Every step could hide a trap, and he knew Liara's mother had more tests waiting. Liara turned to him, her face serious. "Mother does not trust easily," she said. "She will test your courage, your heart, and your resolve. This trial is dangerous. Many warriors have tried and failed." Yarrick nodded, gripping his blaster tightly. "I am ready," he said, though his heart raced. The stories of failed warriors haunted him. They entered a vast canyon, walls rising like jagged teeth. Glowing streams of liquid silver ran through cracks in the rock. Strange noises echoed, as if the canyon itself whispered warnings. Shadows moved unnaturally, shifting closer as they advanced. Yarrick kept moving, covering Liara, eyes scanning for danger, every sense heightened. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and a wall of flame erupted ahead, blocking their path. Liara gasped. "This is the trial of fire," she said. "You must pass or turn back." Yarrick studied the flames, judging the heat and movement. He took a deep breath. "Stay close to me," he said, stepping into the heat, the flames licking his boots, burning the air around them. He guided Liara through the fiery path, jumping over molten rocks, ducking under fiery arcs. Every step a test of courage and focus. Sparks rained down like deadly rain. His arms burned from shielding her. But he refused to look back. He could hear distant roars, something massive moving behind the flames. Watching, waiting. After what felt like an eternity, they emerged from the fire onto a narrow cliff. The heat fading, but a new danger appearing. The cliff narrowed to a jagged edge over a deep abyss. The wind howled, threatening to throw them off balance. And ahead, a massive creature with wings like steel and eyes glowing red waited, blocking the only path. Yarrick tightened his grip on the blaster, realizing brute force alone would not work. He needed strategy. He studied the cliff and the creature, noting its movements, timing his steps carefully, every motion precise. Liara's hands clenched his arm. "Be careful," she whispered, her voice shaking but steady. Yarrick nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. The creature lunged suddenly, wings slashing the air. Yarrick dodged, firing his blaster, hitting its wing, but only slowed briefly. He leaped over a jagged rock, dragging Liara with him, the cliff shaking beneath them. One wrong step could mean falling into the abyss below. Every heartbeat felt like a drum, echoing in the canyon. Yarrick noticed a loose crystal embedded in the cliff. He aimed and fired, the shot dislodging it, and it fell into the creature's path, striking it squarely. The creature stumbled, giving them a chance to run. They sprinted along the narrow edge, jumping over gaps, sliding under jagged overhangs, the wind and fear pushing them to their limits. Finally, they reached a platform where the canyon ended, and before them stood a tall figure, cloaked and radiant. Liara gasped. "Mother," she whispered, "she is testing you now." Yarrick stepped forward, standing tall despite exhaustion. "I have faced the fire, the shadows, and the abyss," he said. "I will not fail. I will protect Liara at all costs." Liara's mother studied him silently, her eyes piercing, as if looking through his soul. The wind swirled, carrying the scent of burning crystals, the echoes of the canyon murmuring judgment. After a long moment, she nodded slowly. "You have courage and a heart to protect. Few survive this trial, and even fewer earn my respect." Yarrick exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders, though he knew more challenges awaited. Liara stepped forward, placing a hand on Jarrick's arm. "You proved yourself," she said, admiration in her eyes. "Mother will see your bravery in the trials to come." Yarrick nodded, feeling a strange pride, but also a new sense of responsibility. The path ahead was still dangerous, and the final confrontation was yet to come. High above, the twin moons glimmered, and distant howls reminded them that Ziria's tests were not over. But Yerrick felt ready, strengthened by courage, trust, and determination. Together, they moved forward, prepared for whatever awaited, knowing that the trial of bravery was only the beginning and the real challenges had yet to be revealed. Yerrick and Liara moved cautiously through the shimmering valley, the light of Ziria's twin moons reflecting off the crystal towers. Their shadows stretched long, twisting across the ground like dark fingers. Jarek's senses were sharp. Every sound, every movement told him that danger was near. Liara held his hand tightly, her eyes wide but determined. "Mother warned me," she whispered. "The final test is not just courage. It is survival and wisdom under pressure." Yerrick nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had faced fire, shadows, and cliffs, but now the stakes were higher than ever. Suddenly, a loud rumble echoed across the valley, and massive figures emerged from the shadows. Creatures bigger and more terrifying than any before, their glowing eyes fixed on them, claws scraping the crystal floor, wings flaring, the air thick with tension and fear. Yerrick raised his blaster, ready to fight. The creatures attacked as one. Moving with frightening speed and coordination, Yerrick fired, dodging, rolling, and striking. Liara stayed close, helping where she could, reflecting beams of light from the crystals to confuse the creatures. Their teamwork seamless, but for every one they stopped, more emerged, surrounding them. "You cannot fight them all," Liara shouted, her voice strong despite the chaos. Yerrick scanned the valley. Looking for a plan, he noticed a massive crystal tower in the center, its surface jagged but shining. He had an idea. "Follow me," he said, leading her toward it, the creatures pursuing relentlessly. They reached the base of the tower, and Yerrick climbed swiftly, pulling Liara up with him. The creatures clawed at the crystal, trying to reach them. Sparks flew from impact. Yerrick fired at the ones below, slowing their advance. But he knew the tower was not just protection, it was part of the test. At the top, the platform opened into a wide area. And there, surrounded by glowing crystals, stood Liara's mother, her presence commanding, radiant and terrifying. "You have survived much," she said, her voice echoing across the valley. "But the ultimate test is yet to come. You must face fear itself or fail." Suddenly, the platform shook, and the air thickened. Illusions formed around them. Creatures from Jarek's past battles, shadows of doubt and failure. He saw visions of Liara in danger, of himself falling, failing, losing everything. His heart pounded. Fear threatened to paralyze him. Liara's hand on his shoulder grounded him. "Remember why you fight," she whispered. "Protect me, protect this world, and trust yourself." Yerrick took a deep breath, steadying his heart, focusing on the present, not the illusions. He fired at the visions, watching them disappear with each precise shot. Then, the ground beneath the platform cracked, and a massive crystal serpent emerged, its body coiling around the towers, glowing eyes fixed on them, fangs sharp as daggers. Yerrick and Liara dodged as the serpent struck, the platform shaking violently, sparks flying everywhere. They worked together, using the reflections of the crystals to blind the serpent temporarily. Yerrick seized the moment, climbing onto the serpent's head, aiming his blaster at its glowing core. Liara reflected a beam of light onto the target, amplifying the shot. The serpent roared, thrashing, the crystal towers vibrating, but the combined attack struck true. The beast shrieked and finally collapsed, shattering into harmless crystal shards. The illusions faded, and the valley became still, silent. The creatures vanished, as if defeated not just by strength, but by courage and unity. Liara's mother approached, her expression unreadable. Then slowly, a small smile appeared. "You have proven yourself," she said. "Not only brave, but wise and steadfast. Few humans could survive what you have endured." Yerrick exhaled, relief and exhaustion washing over him. Liara looked at him, admiration and gratitude shining in her eyes. "Mother acknowledges your courage," she whispered. "You are worthy of trust, and perhaps more." Yerrick nodded, realizing the journey was far from over, but they had survived the ultimate trial. High above, Xeria's twin moons glimmered, the crystal valley silent except for the faint hum of glowing towers. Yerrick and Liara stood together, stronger, bonded by courage, trust, and shared trials. The final confrontation had tested every skill, every choice, every heartbeat, and they had survived, ready for whatever awaited in the next chapter of their journey. The Crystal Valley was quiet, the remnants of the final battle shimmering under the twin moons of Xeria. Yerrick and Liara stood together, exhausted but victorious, their bodies bruised, minds racing, yet a sense of triumph filled the air. The trials had tested them beyond imagination, but they had endured. Liara looked at Yerrick, her golden hair glowing in the soft light. "Mother will see that you are worthy," she whispered, her voice full of relief and admiration. Yerrick nodded, but he knew that the final test was still ahead. Earning the princess's mother's approval was the ultimate challenge, the one that would decide everything. From the shadows, a radiant figure emerged, her presence commanding and powerful. Liara's mother, her eyes glowing like molten crystal, stepped forward, the ground beneath her vibrating with each step. Yerrick straightened, standing tall, heart pounding, knowing this moment would decide his fate. "You have faced fire, shadows, illusions, and creatures beyond imagination," she said, her voice echoing across the valley. "Few could survive the trials of bravery, and even fewer could protect my daughter through them all. Yet here you stand, human, unbroken, steadfast, and brave." Yerrick bowed slightly, showing respect. "I have faced every danger to protect Liara," he said firmly. "Not for glory or reward, but because it was the right thing to do. I would do it again 1,000 times for her and for your world." Liara's mother studied him carefully, silence stretching for what felt like an eternity. Then, slowly, she smiled, a rare expression of warmth and approval. "You have proven your courage, wisdom, and heart," she said. "Liara's safety is ensured, and you have earned my trust, and perhaps something more." Liara stepped closer to Yerrick, her eyes shining. "You are welcome here, and my mother recognizes your bravery." Suddenly, a bright light filled the valley, a signal of victory. The creatures that once threatened them had vanished. The illusions dissolved, and the crystal towers hummed with energy, as if Xeria itself was celebrating their success. Yerrick felt a rush of relief. Exhaustion mingled with pride. He had survived impossible trials. Liara placed her hand on his, her grip gentle but firm. "You saved me, and you have proven yourself to my mother," she whispered. "I trust you, Yerrick, and I am grateful beyond words." Yerrick smiled, feeling the bond between them deepen. Their shared trials had forged trust stronger than any force in the galaxy. High above, the twin moons glimmered, casting silver light over the valley. Yerrick and Liara looked out across the crystal landscape, knowing that danger could return, but confident that together they could face any challenge. The adventure had tested every skill, every choice, every heartbeat, and they had triumphed. Liara's mother stepped closer, placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You have chosen wisely, Liara," she said. "This human has shown bravery, loyalty, and heart, the qualities I value above all. He has earned his place in our world, and perhaps in your life." Liara smiled softly, her eyes meeting Jarek's, understanding passing silently between them. Yerrick exhaled, a mixture of relief and triumph filling him. He had survived the trials of bravery, the shadowed valleys, the illusions and the creatures, and had earned the trust of a royal family on an alien world. The adventure had tested every part of him, and he had emerged victorious. As they walked toward the palace, the crystal towers glowing behind them, Yerrick knew that this was not the end, but a beginning, a promise of adventures yet to come. Liara beside him, they were ready to face whatever the galaxy held, united by courage, trust, and an unbreakable bond. Above, Xeria's sky shimmered with countless stars, the twin moons reflecting the light of victory and hope. And in that moment, Yerrick felt that humanity, no matter how small in the universe, could rise, survive, and thrive. The story of bravery, loyalty, and courage was written in their hearts, forever remembered.